Hey guys, and welcome to another video. My name is Kirsty and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my February wrap up. So this month I think I read a total of 8 or 9 books. In January I read 12, so it's not as much as January, but this has been the month where I have gone back to university and there's been assessments going on, so I haven't had a chance to read a lot. But you know what, I'm pretty pleased with 8 books. Well, considering that my reading challenge is 150 books and I have read 20 books so far in 2018, and Goodreads is already telling me that I'm 3 books behind schedule, which is not really stressing me out. It's just kind of making me laugh more than anything, because I'm just like, why have I set myself such a ridiculous reading goal and one that I probably will not achieve? But I'm going to be interested to see if I do actually achieve that. Anyway, without any further ado, let's just get into my February wrap up. So the first book that I read in February was Saga Volume 8 by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Fiona Staples. Well, I'm kind of lying here because I read it on January 31st, but I'd already filmed, edited and uploaded my January wrap up, so I'm including it in the February, it's okay. But I am giving Saga Volume 8 a 5 out of 5 stars. This was an absolutely brilliant volume and it was full of emotion and twists and turns, and we have a new ship and I am so excited and I need to find out what happens next. But because I don't collect the issues, I collect the volumes, it means that I have to wait about 6 months or 7 months for volume 9 to come out, so that makes me very sad. But this is just an excellent continuation on with the series and I genuinely can't wait to read the next one. The second book that I read in February, and this was actually a reread for me, and that was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and I obviously gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It's not very often that I reread books kind of very soon after each other, but I read this book in, I think it was November or December last year, and I had to read this book for the monthly book club that I go to at my local Waterstones, and instead of just saying, you know what, I've already read it, I'm not going to read it again, I decided to reread it, and I'm so glad that I did, because I feel like it might have been better the second time around, because reading it the second time around, the message fully sunk into my brain and I realised the massive impact that this book has. It's just amazing. If you haven't read this book already, please, please, please give it a go. The third book that I read was Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the Waterstones exclusive edition. I do have the normal paperback copy as well, but it's over in my other room over there, so I just decided to get this one because it was just right by me. But I think I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars because the beginning was a little bit slow, but after we got the beginning bit out of the way, it was fast paced, we had proper engagement with the characters, the storyline was fantastic, and it just made me cry, it made me laugh, it shocked me. Everything that you could want in a book was in this one. And if you are not a big fan of superheroes and you're just like, I will not read Wonder Woman because it's a superhero book and I hate superhero movies or storylines, well, this doesn't actually read like a superhero book. So with some superhero books, it seems like they're shoving the superhero element down your throat, but with this, it's kind of in the background. So the action and the characters are put first, and then the superhero element is kind of put on the back burner. If you're not into superheroes that much, I still would recommend checking Wonder Woman out because it is just a brilliant story in itself. The next book that I read was The Diabolique by S.J. Kincaid, and I think I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The reason I didn't give it a 5 stars was because at the end the writing and the plot seemed to be a little bit messy and it was just a little bit all over the place, and there was too many plot twists cramped into such a small amount of time. So that's the reason why it didn't get 5 stars, but it was still an absolutely brilliant book, and as soon as I finished The Diabolique, I brought the Empress straight away and I intend to read it within the next week or 2 weeks. So yeah, this was a brilliant book. Definitely not what I was expecting. I'd heard how good it was for the booktubers or the book bloggers, and I kind of just put it down to the hype where, you know, it probably wouldn't live up to the hype. It probably wasn't as good as everyone was saying. But I gave it a read and it is definitely as good as everyone is saying. It is fantastic and I can't wait to get around to reading The Empress. The next book that I read is one that I actually finished probably last week, I think, and that was Dreamfall by Amy Plum. I actually haven't heard a lot about this book on BookTube or in the book blogging community, but it's a nice little book. It's only about 280 pages, something like that, so it's quite short, but it's basically a book about sleep paralysis. There are these patients and they suffer with insomnia due to severe OCD, depression, anxiety, PTSD, eating disorders, and they suffer from insomnia, and because it's so bad and they haven't slept for absolutely ages, they undergo these trial experiments. But something in the experiment goes wrong and they are trapped in a comatose state, and all of their brains are kind of linked up and they're all having this same nightmare, and if you die in the nightmare you die in real life. And it's just this crazy roller coaster that's really creepy. There are bits in this that genuinely terrified me. I really don't know why that is, because it takes a lot to scare me whilst reading. If I watch a scary film or TV show, that's it. Like the first jump scare and I'm running out the room. I am an absolute wuss when it comes to films and TV shows, but it does take a lot to scare me through books. And this did scare me. I think it might be just because of the dream element of it, something about kind of being in a comatose state yet still dreaming, and it freaks me out. So this was definitely a creepy read. But the sequel, Neverwake, is coming out in, I think it might be June, but do not quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. There are so many brilliant releases coming out this year that they kind of all blur into one. But I gave Dreamfall a solid 5 out of 5 stars because it was absolutely brilliant. The next one that I read was Monstrous Volume 1 by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, who is the illustrator. And just look at these illustrations. Look how amazing they are. Pretty much my whole rating is because of the illustrations, and my rating for Monstrous Volume 1 is 3.5 or 3.75. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think it's going to be 3.5, and that is because the storyline was very confusing. There was a lot of things going on at the same time. There were a lot of different characters, so it was really hard to keep up with who was who, or who is in a relationship with who was related to who. And it just got to the point where I felt like I had to make notes on what was happening because there was just so much going on. I do think that I need to give this a reread before I start Volume 2 and before Volume 3 comes out in the next few months, because this is one that I feel like I have to have a very good idea of what is going on before I even carry on with the storyline. It was good, just not as good as I was expecting. I am going to carry on with the series, but like I said, I'm going to have to give it a reread soon. And the last book that I read in February was Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, and yes, I have finally gotten around to reading this. I can't believe that it's took me so long to get around to reading it. When was this book even published? Shall we find out? Okay, so it was published in 2012. So that is 6 years ago. It took me 6 years to get around to reading this book. Yeah, I was like, you know what? It's probably about time that I got around to it. I picked it up, I finished it, I think within 2 days, and I absolutely loved it. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars because it was just brilliant. I love the character of Selena. I love how sassy she is. I love how bossy and arrogant she is. I love Kel Westfall. I love Dorian. I love Nehemia. I love all of the characters, and the storyline was just brilliant. And I actually have already started, I think it's Crown of Midnight. I'm not 100% sure what the second book is called, which is kind of annoying because I'm actually reading it. But I am reading the second book at the moment, and I will probably finish it before February finishes. So it will have to be in my March wrap up because I had to film this. I couldn't wait until the very, very last day of February to film my wrap up. So it will probably be in my March wrap up. So this was the last book that I read in February. So yeah, a total of 8 books this month. I'm kind of pleased with myself, and it's been a really good reading month as well. There's been a lot of 4 and 5 star books. So overall it has been a really, really good reading month. But yeah, that is it for my February wrap up. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which will be my February book haul. Bye!